This conference will now be recorded.
Now it's recorded.
Okay. Okay, something went wrong.
Yes.
So in the last class, we have seen this is nothing but your method, and a method will be having the syntax of a method will have a return type and followed by the name of the method, and I'm opening my method and I'm just closing my method. And so if you are not returning anything after performing an action, you write it as void, right? So from a method, if you want to return something, what you will do, you will just make it as
return 1 or something.
So I have mentioned the return type as here.
Yes.
So what I'll do after performing that action, I need to return some value.
Okay.
Right. So it may be any number.
Yes.
So if you return a string, if I kept the return type of a method as a string, so definitely I need to return a string after completing my operation. So string some name I can return. Right. And
right.
We have seen method with parameters as well as method without parameters. For example, if I take a method, so this is a method, and if you see, this method is not having any parameters, and I can say this is a 0 parameter method. And how I will call this method is just simply assume that from M1 I'm calling this method. I'll just call it as add, right? And similarly, if you want to write a method with the parameters with the return type, or without return type, so I'm taking. So here I'm having the parameters a, comma, in b, right? So when I want to call this second method, how I'll be calling? I'll be passing the parameters to it, right? So if the parameter here is a string type, you will be passing a string. If it is of float type, you will be passing the float type, right?
You're right.
And what we have seen, Daniel? Still, can you tell me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Yeah. Can you can see my screen, right?
Yeah, I can see.
So I'm asking, can you tell me what we have discussed in the last class still, apart from this?
Yeah, how we are going to write define methods and how we are going to get to the return. Yeah.
And there are, I have told you there are different kinds of variables that you have. One will be your static variable, non-static variable, as well as a local variable. For example, what is a local variable? I take a class called so I have taken a class called addition. Taken a class called addition, so I'm opening my class and I'm closing that class over here. And if I declare the variables over here, for example, I'm declaring int a and int b, int c. So these variables are nothing but your instance variables, or these three variables are nothing but your instance variable, or you can call them as object level variable. Or you can call them as non-static. So So whatever the thing I call, it will be the same. So why I'm calling this as instance variables or object level variables or non-static variables, we'll be getting very good idea when once we discuss what is static and what is non-static. We are going to discuss that. But as of now, you remember, if I declare a variable inside a class but outside a method, that I'll call it as instance variables, right? And if I don't have a static keyword, and I call it as instance variables, right?
Okay, can you explain me, the difference between class and method?
Can you come again, Daniel?
Can you explain me the difference between class and methods?
Okay, as I said you, class is something, a virtual thing or a blueprint where it represents an object. Assume that as of now, what I want to do, if you see that class, I want to do an addition, right? So when you want to do an addition, so what is the thing that you require? You require two variables. You require a method which perform an addition, right? So what is your requirement as of now is nothing but to perform an addition, right? So to perform an addition, you require three variables, and what you required a method where you write a logic which will perform an addition, and you will require some main method from where you call an addition method, right? So your requirement is addition, and these are the things that you have required. So to write all these things, you need a virtual thing, right? You need a blueprint, or so that you represent inside a class. So all these things you will be writing inside a class. So class contains the members, the class contains the methods. Members means it comes as variables as well as methods. So your class contains the variables. If you see in A, B, C are nothing but your variables, and add is nothing but a method, right? And in the class contain a main method where you call the add method, right? So this is nothing but your class. So class is a blueprint or a virtual thing. Similarly, when you want to do a calculator application, so when you want to do a calculator application, you will have multiplication, you will have an addition, you will have a subtraction, a division. There are a lot of every functionality will be there, right? So for each and every functionality, you required a method called something. You made a method called add, so which will perform a specific action, right? Now your requirement is doing a calculation. So doing a calculator, to design a calculator, so when you see a calculator will have multiple operations. From by using calculator, you can do addition, you can do multiplication, you can do division. So these various things you cannot club in once, and you cannot write in one method, right? So what happens, it is very difficult when you want to call the functionality. There is no the concept of reusability comes here, right?
Yeah.
So for that reason, what happened, they have what you are going to do is nothing but you are going to reduce that into methods. So now you have a function, your requirement is to do calculator. In that calculator, you have different operations. So for that, for every operation, you have taken something called a method, right? So
right.
Here you are taking a method called void add, which will perform an addition. So as of now, I'm in this my example, I'm taking addition as a class. But if you take calculator as a class, so this calculator will have an add function, so which will perform an addition, which will have a subtraction method or a function or a behavior. Everything is same. So which will be performing your subtraction. Similarly, you'll have a division method, multiplication method, multiplication or division something, which will perform your multiplication. So whatever you are making your requirement, and you are writing on you are writing a method where it will perform only addition. We are writing a method where it will perform only subtraction. So what you are doing, you have a much requirement. That requirement you are breaking into some pieces of requirements, right? So what happens to that? Makes very easy. So when you want to do an addition, you just call this add method, right? So assume that if you club everything and write in one method, what happens? When you want to do an addition, it will perform all the functions which is not required. When you want to do an addition, you want to do an addition, right? So for that, you have taken a method called add. So the same thing that you apply in a real-time scenarios, right? So for example, when you want to do an application, so I think you understood what is a method. Method is something where you write some logic to to complete your requirement, to satisfy your requirement. Are you clear, Daniel?
Yes, yes. Now it's clear.
Yes, a simple real-time example. For example, you want to you just go to a bank and you want to create an account, right? So your requirement is nothing but you will have a class called account, and your requirement is nothing but creating an account, right? So further, they will have a method called create, and in that they will write a function for a create of an account. Similarly, there is another person comes to a bank and he want to update his phone number or update his address. So in that, is there any requirement? Is there any link that is needed with the create? No, right? The logic which is behind for create is different. The logic which is for an updating an account, right? So for that, they will take a method called update.
Okay.
Right? So you have a huge requirement. That huge requirement break into pieces of requirements by using the methods. That's it. So that is a method, and that you will be writing inside the class. So you have update, you have create, you have delete, all these functions where you need to represent in a virtual thing somewhere, right? So where you represent all that functions, all that methods in a class. So that's the reason you need a class where you write all the behaviors. And what is a behavior? What is a method? Is to perform some function.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
So now you're very clear with what is a method, what is a what is a method and what is a class, right? And what is an object is nothing but your real thing, real entity, right? So as I said, when you want to do an application for a bank, you take account as an object. When you want to take an application for software company, you take employees as an object. So you will get this very clear as we go on. So object is, as of now, remember, object is something, a real entity where a class can have group of objects, right?
Right.
So let it be calculator. Fine.
Yeah.
I'm taking a method called. So we are discussing what are the types of variables that we have. So we have seen what is an instance variable, a variable that which has declared inside a class and but outside a method, that you call it as instance variable or object level variable or non-static variable, where you don't if you don't declare with the static keyword, then you call it as instance variable, right? And for example, if I declare a variable inside my method, so this you call it as local variable, right? And you are clear with the terminologies, what is declaration and what is assignment, assigning a value.
Yeah, assigning, initializing, right? Assigning you
initializing or giving a value. So you can do the declaration and assignment at once, initialization at once while declaring. For example, for this ABC, I have declared it, but I have not given an initialization of value, or I have not assigned it. So by default, it will take the initial value, default value as zeros. But in this case, int D, where I have declared as well as I have done an assignment, right?
Okay. So you declare and initialize at the same time.
At the same time. That's the difference.
That variable is it the variable that you have like D under method add? Is it local or global variable?
It's a local variable, because where I have declared this variable inside the method, right?
Under the method.
So this variable has been declared inside the method, so that you call it as local.
Okay.
So if So you are calling this ABC as nothing but your instance variables because you have declared that outside the method and inside the class without a static keyword. So that's the reason you call that as instance variables or object level variables or non-static. So why you are calling with these three names, you'll get an idea once we discuss what is static and non-static, right? And if I declare a variable like this, static. So what is this? Will be your static variable, or I can say this as nothing but class level variable. So for every statement you need to enter the semicolon. If I make a mistake, let me know. So if I'm talking about static, it means I'm talking about class level. If I'm talking about non-static or instance, I'm talking about object. So static means it belongs to class level. So this is a concept that will be there entire core Java as well as whatever you learn. So this is a very important concept where you need to understand a lot, and it will be very important in further classes. So we'll get more clarity on this. But as of now, you remember static means I'm talking about a class, and if it is non-static, it is an object, right?
Yeah, all right.
So we have seen three kind of variables as of now. One is instance variable, one is a static variable, one is a local variable.
Local variable. Okay.
Yes. So when I call it as a static, so when you have a keyword called static before any variable, that you call it as static, right? So similarly, how you have static variables, you have static methods, right? So we have seen it as a variable, right? So when you want to write a static method, so this is my static method.
Okay.
So what is your add? Add is your non-static method. Why? Because you don't have a static method, right? And what is this? Sub is nothing but your static method because you have a static key, right?
Right.
And we'll see what is the
So
difference between
what is the difference between?
Yes, we'll see that. So then we'll get to know more clarity on that. You have static members, as well as so if I'm talking about static members means it comes as like variables, as well as there is some problem with my keyboard, sorry.
No problem.
It will be variables as well as members means variables plus methods, right? And you have a static thing before any member. For example, how you declare a static variable is nothing but static into a, right? And if you want to declare a static method, static void member, right? And the static variables can be called with the class name. You can call, we can call by using class name. There is some disturbance.
No problem. Don't worry.
Some from some end. Right. So if I want to call M1 method, right? So which is of my static thing. So how can I call? I can call by using the class name, because I said if it is a static, it belongs to the class name, right? So for example, in the before, if you see sub is nothing but my static member, right? So
Yeah.
so if you want to call that sub method, how can I call? By using the class name dot sub, right? And your static members also can be called by using the reference variable, of an object. For example, when you create an object for this, right? So where I'll be creating an object, I'll be creating inside a main method, right? So public static void main. As I said you, for main there is a reason, and we'll discuss that. Is that disturbance from your end, or
You said what?
there is some echo. I don't know from where it is coming. There was some disturbance.
Okay. How about now?
It is fine.
Just muted myself.
So how will be, as I said, we'll be creating an object, right? So class name, some reference variable, cal equals to new So this is how you created an object, right? So you can call your static members by using your reference variable also, but it will show me a what, because always your starting members can be called or assigned by using the class, right? So what is a better way of calling my sub method?
Yeah, with the class.
Right? So now I understood what is a static member and how I will call that. So I'll be calling the static members by using the class name, and the memory for the static will be members. For example, you declared any variable as a static, the memory will be allocated at the time of class load. So we'll see what is class loading and object creation. So this is nothing but your object creation, right? So in the previous class, I said you, whenever you create an object, it is going to create the memory for all your instance variables, right? I said you in the previous class, right? For example, when you create an object of this calculator class, it is going to create with k equals to 0. So if you see in the program, what are the variables that I have declared as a non-static members?
And ABC. Int ABC.
Yeah. ABC, right? And add is also a non-static member, right? So all this will be created at the time of object creation. So where is an object creation is happening? On this point, after calling up after the main method, the object creation is happening. So at the time of object creation, it is going to take all the values. right? And it is going to have a method called add. So this is at the time of your object creation, right? So, but for this, when the memory for the you have a variable called e, right? So the memory for this will be allocated at the time of class loading. The class loading will be happening the first, and object creation happens second. Actually, JVM is going to load the class. We'll have the separate concept on that, but initially when you compile it and when you run, your class loading happens that time. So whenever the class loading happens, it is going to create the memory for all the instance members, all the static members. So what are the static members? Int A as well as sub. So the memory for them will be created at the time of uh, class loading time, and this belongs to object level, class level, right?
Yeah.
And how you call the non-static members? We have seen that how you are going to call the static members, right?
Yes.
So, but how you call a non-static member? So the non-static member should be called only by object reference. After creating an object only, you should be calling, right? So here, you have an add which is of a non-static member. So that non-static member I should be calling only by using object reference, right? So I cannot call that non-static member by using a class. If I'm trying to call a non-static member by using a class name, it is going to show me an error. Will be my compiler error. So the vice versa. For example, a static member can be called by the class name as well as object reference value. But it will show me an error when I am not using a class name for calling a static member. But when it comes to a non-static member or an object level variable, the name is indicating, right? If it is an object level, you definitely need to create an object and you have to call with the object reference only. You cannot call with the class name. Are you clear with this, Daniel?
Yeah. How do you call for the static member that you created on the top, like static int e? Can you scroll up?
You can call by using this calculator, right? So what I can do? So calculator dot e equals to sum 5. So how I'm giving the value to that in a static variable by using the class, right?
You're right.
So so this you cannot do for a non-static member. For example, what is a non-static member variable? A is a non-static member, right? A, the value that we have declared. So A belongs to a object level. So that I cannot give the value like this. For A and B and C, these are nothing but my non-static members. So for that, if I'm trying to give the value like this, it will throw me an error because you cannot assign the value by using the class. So for a static method, it's for calling. For a variable, you will just assign a value, right?
Right.
So, but how you want to give, how you can assign a value to a non-static member by using the class reference, right? Dot a equals to 9. So what happens? The value gets changes to 9. As I said, initially the value will be 0 if you don't do anything. So what happens if I can change the value to the 9 or whatever the value that you, right? So now I think you understood how you call a static members and how you call a non-static members and how you declare a static members and how you declare non-static, all this, right?
Right.
And we will discuss, and you, as I said you, right, there is a reason for this main method. If you see a main method, I said you, for everything, public is nothing but your access specifier, static is nothing but your keyword, and void is a return type, and we are not returning anything from a main method, and that's the reason you have a void as a return type, and a main, and you have string args, right? So
yeah, right.
why can you say why the main method is static? Why it is not a non-static? Why the method is static? Why it is not instant method or a non-static method? Can you tell that, Daniel?
Yeah, you said what?
My
said
question
what?
is, you understood what is the difference between static and non-static, right?
Yes, I understand. Yeah.
My question is why your main method is static. So why it is a non-static method? So I cannot write my main method as a non-static method. If I am trying to write it, my compiler will not consider it as a main method, right? So always my main method should be a static. Main method is also a method, right? Normal methods, right? So
yeah.
My question is why main method is static only? Why I cannot write a main method as a non-static? Why the Java people made this as a static method? Can you tell that? We understood the concept of static and non-static, right?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
And you understood my question also, right?
Yeah, I mean, actually, there was still you didn't create any methods which calls like the main, right? You didn't create, right? So I'm not sure why it's called by as static variable. Always, I don't know why we called it for a static variable. I don't know.
Okay, I'll tell that. I'll make it clear. Okay,
yeah.
But you understand. But I just want that clarity that you understood what is static and non-static, right? Do you have any doubts in that? What is static and non-static? No, right?
Yeah, I mean, non-static and static. I mean, I understand.
You are clear with that. So
yeah,
yes.
For non-static, I mean, normally it's global, which we can declare on a class level.
Yes. So I'll ask you the question. For example, if your method is a static method, can you call with the class name? Yes, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, right? So if your method is not a static method, can you call with the class name?
No.
No, you cannot call, right?
It should be an error.
It should be an error. So see here. So you have a main method. From a main method only, your addition or subtraction or some other methods are getting called, right?
Yeah.
But someone has to call your main method, right?
Yes.
So when you compile your program and when you are running it, so your compiler is calling your main method, and some main method you are calling other methods. You are not calling a main method. So who is internally calling? Your compiler will call the main method, right?
Yes.
So it means how your compiler is calling your main method. It is simple like this, right? I'm just writing here. So how your compiler is going to call your class name dot main. So what you do in C, you will be in Java, you will do two things. One is compile, one is run. I think you understand. You know what is compile and what is run, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So here you will pass a string of arguments. Something I'm just passing. So this is how your main method gets called, right? So what you do compile as well as run. So how you compile? I'm writing Java C dot class name. So when you are writing Java C dot class name, so your compiler gets to know your class name is nothing but a calculator, right? By using that, what it will do, it will call calculator.main and it will pass a string of array, right?
Right.
So how can able to your compiler, how it can able to call calculator.main? Because your main method is a static method, right? So that is a reason you can compile, your compiler can call calculator.main. Assume that your main method is not a static method. So can your compiler can call calculator.main? No, right? Because whenever it is a non-static method, you cannot call with a class name. You need to create an object, but where you are creating an object inside a main method, but you don't have a main method. So to first of all, to call the main method, your method should be a static. So to call the main method without creating an object, you need a static. Right?
Right.
So you understood this point?
Yes.
Clear, Daniel, right? Why the main method is static?
Clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Why is that you said like public static void main method? I mean, are you going to explain in the future or just only to?
Yes, I'll be explaining why it is public. So public is nothing but an access specifier. So once we covered an access specifier topic, you will understand what is the reason of public, right? So void is nothing but your main method. From a main method, for compiler, you're not going to return anything, right? So after executing the main, whether we are returning something, no, right? So that's the reason you should have a return type as void. And main is the name of the method. So that is the naming convention they have given. So that's the reason it will always call with the name main. And string array. So we'll discuss what is the concept of strings, and whatever the thing that you pass from the command prompt, it will always in the form of string of arrays. I think we have discussed the concept of arrays. So I'll discuss why the main method is public. In later classes, we'll be discussing that why it is public. So you need to understand access specifiers. So public is an access specifier. So then you'll understand what is the reason for that. So we'll discuss that.
What is that public?
Sorry?
What is that public?
That's what, Daniel, I'm telling. So we in further classes I'll discuss access specifiers. So when I'll discuss an access specifier, you'll understand why it's public. So I have told you what is static, because I have discussed what is a static and non-static concept, right? So then you can able to understand the reason for a static, right? Similarly, when I discuss an access specifier, you can able to understand why they have mentioned an access specifier as public, right? So for every method or for everything, you have an access specifier. For example, before methods, we are not writing anything. It means your access specifier is default. So don't worry on that. We'll have the concept of access specifiers. Then these points will be clear. As I said so Java is very interlinked, right? So you cannot learn one topic and forget the other. So every class and everything is interlinked, and which is very important. So what I'll try to do, obviously I'll try to connect with the topics, but if you missed with something, please let me know.
Okay.
Right? And so you remember A, B, C are nothing but my non-static variables. And what is the static variable that I have? E, right? So assume that I have not given any value to an E. So this is a static variable. Assume that I have not given any value. So it will take it as a default value, right?
Right.
So what is this E? This belongs to a class level.
Yeah.
And ABC belongs to an object level, right?
Right.
And as I discussed, can I create one more object, right?
Yeah.
So I need to change the reference variable cal2. So I have not given any values. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yeah, I
Daniel,
can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear
can you
you.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Daniel, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. But I cannot hear you, Daniel.
Yes. Hello? Yeah. Yes. I have it.
Hello, Daniel. It's getting muted directly, actually. Now fine, right?
Yeah, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think
So,
you. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
I have not muted, so okay, fine. Some mistake.
Yeah. No
So,
problem. No problem.
hmm. So I'm going to create one more object. So
Okay.
this, so a first object that I have created, assume that it is having a 101 address, and you have a reference called CAL1. So which will hold this 101 address, right?
Yeah.
And similarly, you want to create one more object, right? I have created one more object, and what will be the values of this? Again, so as I said, for example, if you create 10 object, again 10 instance variables will be created, right? So
Yeah.
whenever you are trying to create an object, all the instance variable values will be get created. So assume that if I have not declared anything, again it will be 0. So how many you are having? this E value is common to both objects, right? So assume that this object is having a 102 location, and your CL2 will have the value of this 102. So how many objects I have? Two objects. So how many ABC I have? Like 6, like 2A, 2B, 2C, right? So every object has its unique ABC values, right?
Yeah.
So, but for both these objects, what is a common?
Class E.
Yeah. So because this is a class level variable, so which is common to both objects.
Yeah.
So by this point, what you have made? So object class level variable will be shared commonly among all the objects. For example, in a class, if you create 10 objects, for the 10 objects, the E value will be same, but ABC value will be different, right?
Right.
So how can I tell that is, for example, I'm taking this as CL1 and CL2, right?
Yeah.
And you change CL1 dot A equals to 3 and CAL2 dot A equals to 4. What I'm changing? I'm changing the A value which is present in both objects, right? So for one object, I'm giving value as 3. For the other object, I'm giving the value as 4, right?
Yeah.
And I am changing the value of even the E. Sorry. Right? So now if you print these values, right? So here what happens? Your A value changes to, so this is nothing but my object 1. So in this object 1, my A value changes to 4.
Yeah.
Right? Here the value changes to, sorry, it changes to 3.
Oh, yeah.
And it changes to 4, right? But what is its common value? E. So this E value changes to 9, which is common to both objects. You got that right?
Yeah. Because it's static, right? That's a class
So this will be, this E will be common to both objects, but the value in object A and the value the variable in object 1 as the variable in object 2 is different, right? But E is a common to both objects, and when you are trying to print that, so I can print here itself. So I can print the, as I said I can able to call a static members by using the object reference also, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell me the output in the all the statements, Daniel?
Yeah, system print out. Yeah, system print
What
out.
is the output here?
That is for 0, 3 or I don't know.
First output is 3. Second output?
It's 4, I think so. I don't know. You changed something. I didn't see. I don't remember.
So assume that it is 4 only, right? Above statement I changed it 4.
Yeah.
So what is the?
Yeah. For E0, right?
So here it will be 4.
Oh, yeah.
Right. What will be the output over here?
0, right?
Sorry.
0 is on the class level, right?
So but what is the
Yeah,
value
okay.
that I have given to you?
Okay, you put that on 9. Okay, 9.
So
Yeah.
here the value will be
9. 9.
9. So in next step also what the value will be?
The
9.
same. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, because whether you call with this object, whether you are calling with this object or with this object, the value is common, right? But in case of this, it's different, right?
Yeah.
And in the last case also, the output is 9.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
You understood that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the point is here, the static members will be common to all the objects. It will be shared commonly to all the objects, right? And a non-static member will be different for different objects, right? A simple example, for example, when you want to take an employee class, right?
Yeah.
In an organization, you have an employee, right? So whether that all the employees will have the same ID and the same roll number.
Yeah, you said what?
For example, you take an organization and the organization will have some 10 or 100 employees, right? So whether that all employees will have same ID and same name.
Yeah, you said what? Or whether all the employees see my name or?
What I'm asking, whether the employees' IDs and names will be same or different?
Different.
Different, right? So when it is a different, what you will take? You will take it as a non-static or a static member?
When it's different, non-static. When it's the same, it's static, right?
Right. So when it is different, you take it as a non-static members. You declare that ID and name as nothing but your non-static members. And for example, assume that you have a company ID, for example, an institution ID. So which is a common to all the members. For example, your company name changes or your institute name changes, it will be changing to all the people, right?
Yeah, right.
So that variable you can't take it as static.
Static, yeah.
So you understood what is a real thing scenario where you go for static and where you go for non-static.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So we'll try to see. Eclipse. I'll just you have the Eclipse tool on these things are installed in your machine, Daniel?
No. Can you send me the link? Can you send me the link?
Yes, I'll just send you the link and steps to increase the Eclipse. So you can do it in Notepad also, but Eclipse is a good option.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of other tools like Eclipse is the famous one, but
Yeah.
in the real time also most of the people uses Eclipse only.
Okay. Send me the link or something to install or the software if you have the package with any of it.
So I'll just send you the link and steps to install that Eclipse. So we'll see that practically output, right? So as of now, what we have seen is a notepad, and I said you that's output, right? So what I told you, we'll see it as a practically.
Okay.
In the coming class, can you do this small assignment, Daniel?
Sure.
Small program. Can you write a small program? Fine, right?
Yeah.
So what I've discussed, it is like a clumsy thing. So what you do is nothing but write this in a proper way. So take a calculator and write all the functions. And in that function, I just want to, in that calculator class, I just want all the concepts that what we have discussed. Write a static method, write a non-static method, write a method with parameters, write a method with with 2 parameters. For example, if you take an add method with 0 parameter, take sub method with 2 parameters, right? So try to cover all the concepts that what we have discussed and write a simple Java program, and we'll see how you call that all the methods. That's it, a simple thing. So I discussed it, but I just made it a very clumsy thing. So you write this in a proper way. Is it fine, Daniel?
Yeah, fine. I will try. I have to install the software, right?
No. You just write it in a notepad, that program. That's it.
Okay.
So we'll see. We'll see, and we'll execute that in a software.
Okay.
So it's for 1 hour. Shall we stop it or shall we continue the session, Daniel?
Yeah. No. I think it's better, right? Only 1 hour.
Fine. That's what. If you hope, if you want, we'll continue. Otherwise, we'll stop it here itself.
Yeah, we can stop it. We can continue tomorrow. Send me this Eclipse links, or if you have the package, you can send me. I can install on my software.
Okay. So this is the Eclipse tool actually that we're going to use to write a simple programs.
Okay.
So we'll write a simple program.
Send me for the Eclipse link, or if you have the software, can you send me through email or through?
So before installing Eclipse, you need to install JDK, JRE. These things you need to install. I'll just send you the link or the steps to how to install that. So after installing this JDK and JRE, you will be installing the Eclipse. Okay. By tomorrow, I'll be sending that.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you. Bye.
హలో షాయ అది యాక్చువల్గా ఇప్పుడు నేను అంటే స్టాప్ రికార్డింగ్ చేసి ఇది ఎలా సేవ్ చేయాలి నాకు లేదు అంటే ఐడియా లేదు. స్టాప్ చేసిన తర్వాత నాకు మళ్ళీ ఏం కనిపించలేదు.
This conference will now be recorded.